Everybody talks about what they want. Everybody dreams. Everybody has a plan, but very few people are willing to actually do the work that makes that dream a reality. You can sit all day with a vision board. You can fill notebooks with your goal. You can tell the whole world about your intentions, but until you execute, nothing changes. The truth is, intentions don't get you paid. Intentions don't move you forward, and intentions don't inspire anybody. It's the action, it's the grind, it's the sweat and sacrifice behind the scenes that turns a dream into something people can see and respect. Dreams don't count until you do the work. People respect results, not promises. People are moved by what you build, not by what you imagine. You can't just talk your way into success. You have to grind your way there. That's the difference between those who wish and those who win. Most people fall in love with the idea of their dream, but they don't fall in love with the process it takes to get there. They love to think about the finish line, but they don't want to run the race. And that's why so many remain stuck. They believe that passion alone is enough. That excitement alone is enough. But passion without execution is wasted energy. It's like having a car full of gas, but never turning the key. You've got all the fuel in the world, but you're not going anywhere until you put that car in drive. Execution is the key that starts the engine of your destiny. You don't get to the top by talking about climbing the mountain. You get there by putting one foot in front of the other. Every single day, no matter how heavy the climb feels. Understand this. Nobody cares about how badly you want it if you don't show them through your work. The world doesn't reward people for good ideas alone. It rewards people who act on those ideas. A dream without work is a lie you're telling yourself to feel comfortable where you are. That's why execution separates the average from the great. Anybody can say they're going to be successful, but very few back it up with action day after day. If you're serious about your dream, you got to wake up every morning and attack it like your life depends on it. Because in a way it does. Your future, your legacy, your opportunity, they all depend on what you're willing to do, not just what you're willing to think about. When you look at the people you admire, the ones you call successful, you'll realize they weren't the only ones with ideas. Plenty of people around them had similar dreams, but the difference is they executed. They were willing to sacrifice, to show up, to grind when others were just talking. That's why their names are remembered while others are forgotten. It's not that their dreams were bigger. It's that their work ethic matched their vision. You can't just want it. You have to be about it. Execution's proof that you believed in yourself enough to do the hard things. And let me be real with you. Execution is not glamorous. It doesn't look pretty. It's waking up early when you're tired. It's saying no to distractions when everybody else is having fun. It's staying disciplined when no one is watching. People will see the glory later, but they won't see the grind it took to get there. And that's okay, because you're not doing it for applause. You're doing it because your dream demands it. Execution is lonely. Execution is heavy. But execution is what transforms your intentions into reality. You can't keep telling yourself, oh, tomorrow I'll start, because tomorrow turns into next week, turns into next year. And before you know it, your dream has expired. Execution requires urgency. Execution means you take action today, even if it's messy, even if it's small. Even if it's small. Progress beats perfection every single time. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity. Create opportunities by moving. Every small step you take builds momentum. And momentum is what separates people who stay stuck from people who break through. So stop talking about what you're going to do and start proving it through your work. Stop posting about your dreams and start building them in silence. Stop waiting for motivation to show up and start relying on discipline. Your intentions are only as powerful as the action that follows them. Dreams don't count until you do the work, because work is the language the universe responds to. You don't get what you wish for. You get what you work for. Execution creates something that intentions can never produce, and that is momentum. You don't need to have the perfect plan. You don't need to have every single detail figured out. You don't need to know exactly how it's all going to play out. What you need is to start moving. Because once you move, once you take that first step, something powerful begins to happen. The universe responds to action. Opportunities that you couldn't see when you were standing still start to show up the moment you commit with movement. People who would never notice you while you're talking start to pay attention when you start doing. Execution is what sets things in motion. It's the difference between staying in neutral and building speed toward your destiny. Think about it like pushing a car. At first, it feels impossible. The car doesn't budge, your legs burn, your arms shake, and you start wondering if you'll ever move it. But then, after a few moments of struggle, the wheels begin to turn. It's slow at first, but once it starts moving, it gets easier to keep pushing. That's what execution does for your life. The first steps are the hardest because you're fighting resistance, you're battling fear, you're breaking through procrastination. But the moment you execute, you create momentum. And momentum is a force that starts carrying you further than you imagine. Once you got it, it's easier to keep going than it is to stop. That's why people who succeed seem unstoppable. It's not because they had better circumstances or because everything went right for them. It's because they started moving when others hesitated, moving when others hesitate. They didn't wait for conditions to be perfect. They created conditions by their consistency. When you execute, you attract resources. You meet people who align with your vision. You open doors that were invisible before. That shit has a way of multiplying itself. You take one step and suddenly you see 10 more opportunities in front of you that you couldn't see when you were just standing at the start line thinking about it. And momentum doesn't just open doors. It changes you. The more you execute, the more confidence you build. You stop doubting yourself because you've got evidence that you can move forward. Every step you take strengthens your belief that the next step is possible. Execution creates confidence, and confidence fuels even more execution. That's how momentum works. It feeds itself. Whoa. People who are stuck are not stuck because they're incapable. They're stuck because they haven't started moving. They're caught up in analysis, caught up in excuses, caught up in fear of failing. But failure only comes from not executing at all. Once you move, you're already ahead of where you were. Momentum also has a way of silencing your critics when you're talking about your dreams. People can laugh, people can doubt, people can call you unrealistic. But when they see you executing, when they see you producing results, when they see progress in real time, it becomes hard to argue. Momentum doesn't just convince you, it convinces others. That's when support shows up, when opportunities show up, when doors swing open that were locked before. But none of that happens if you never start. Most people fail not because they don't have talent, not because they don't have resources, but because they never create momentum. They spend years talking, planning, waiting, hesitating, and then life passes them by. The successful are not always the smartest or the strongest. They're the ones who executed when they didn't feel ready. They understood that momentum is built by movement, not by waiting for the stars to align. You can't steer a parked car, but the moment it's moving, you can direct it where you want to go. That's what execution does. It gets you rolling. And once you're rolling, you can adjust, you can improve, you can find direction. And here's the truth. Momentum doesn't come from massive leaps. It comes from consistent steps. Too many people think they need to take a giant jump to change their life. But momentum is about small wins stacking up. When you execute daily, even in little ways, you create a rhythm. And that rhythm compounds. Just like an athlete who trains every day becomes unstoppable. You too become unstoppable when you stack execution day after day. Consistency in execution creates a wave so strong that it pushes you past obstacles that used to intimidate you. Momentum also protects you from quitting. Once you've been executing long enough, it feels unnatural to stop. That's why it's so important to start, because the hardest part is getting into motion. You'll get in motion. After that, the momentum carries you forward even on days you don't feel motivated. The weight of your past execution becomes fuel for your future execution. You don't want to waste the effort you've already invested, so you keep going. Excuses are the enemy of execution. And if you don't get rid of them, they will rob you of your destiny. Everybody's got excuses. Everybody's got reasons why they can't start today, why they can't push harder, why they can't commit all the way. Some people blame their environment. Some people blame their upbringing. Some people blame the lack of money, the lack of time, the lack of support. But here's the truth. Excuses don't change your life. Excuses don't pay the bills. Excuses don't move you closer to your goals. The more you feed excuses, the weaker your execution becomes. And the weaker your execution becomes, the further your dream slips away. You have to understand that no matter how real your excuse feels, it doesn't build results. The world will not hand you success just because you had a tough childhood. It won't hand you success just because you worked long hours or because people doubted you. Life doesn't reward excuses. Life rewards effort. The people who make it aren't the ones who had perfect conditions. They're the ones who refuse to let their conditions dictate their future. They decided to stop talking about the problem and start executing on the solution. You cannot climb to the top holding on to excuses because excuses weigh you down like chains. Think about it. Every time you say, I'll start tomorrow, you are delaying your breakthrough. Every time you say, I don't have time, you are lying to yourself. Because the truth is, you make time for what matters most. Every time you say, I don't have the money, you're closing your mind to creativity because execution finds a way where excuses find a wall. Excuses look for reasons to stop. Execution looks for reasons to keep moving. Excuses will have you standing in the same spot 10 years from now, telling the same sad story about why you couldn't make it happen. Execution will have you living your dream, inspiring others, and proving that nothing is stronger than a determined spirit. The reason most people never execute is because excuses feel comfortable. Excuses lay you off the hook. Excuses allow you to stay where you are without facing the pain of growth. But comfort is a trap. Comfort keeps you in the same cycle, repeating the same behaviors, seeing the same results. If you want a different life, you've got to be allergic to excuses. You got to call yourself out when you start making them. You got to say, no, I'm not going to accept this excuse because my dream is worth more than my comfort. Execution doesn't care about how you feel. Execution cares about what you do. Let's be honest, the people who win don't have fewer problems than you. They don't have more hours in the day than you. They don't have everything lined up perfectly. They simply decided that their dream was bigger than their excuses. They found a way to get it done. They studied after work. They trained when they were tired. They invested when they didn't have much. And they kept moving when others stopped. That's why they're successful. Not because life was easier for them, but because they chose execution over excuses. You need to get to a place where you hate excuses so much that you refuse to speak them. Replace every excuse with action. If you don't have time, wake up earlier, cut out distraction. If you don't have money, start with what you have and build. If you don't have support, become your own biggest supporter until others catch on. Execution is about refusing to be paralyzed by limitations. Every excuse is just another way of saying you're not willing to fight for your dream. And if you're not willing to fight for it, don't expect anybody else to fight for it either. Understand this? Excuses are seductive. They sound reasonable. They sound logical. They even get sympathy from others. But sympathy won't change your life. Execution will. Every second you spend justifying why you can't is a second you could have used proving that you can. You got to flip the script and say, I'm not going to let this excuse dictate my outcome. I'm going to execute in spite of it. That mindset separates the talkers from the doers, the dreamers from the achievers. Some of you are one execution away from changing your entire life, but you keep talking yourself out of it with excuses. You keep saying you'll start when you have more energy, when you have more resources, when you feel more ready, but you'll never feel perfectly ready. The only way to get ready is to start. The only way to build strength is to step into the arena and fight. Execution is messy. It's imperfect. It's uncomfortable, but it moves you forward. Excuses keep you neat, keep you safe, keep you stuck. Which one do you want? Do you want safety and regret, or do you want discomfort and growth? It's not always the most talented who rise to the top. It's the ones who show up day after day, no matter how they feel. Consistency beats talent because talent without discipline eventually, but consistency builds a foundation that nothing can shake. Everybody loves to talk about gifted people, about natural born talent, about how some are just destined to succeed. But the truth is, talent might give you a head start, but consistency determines whether you finish the race. The world is filled with talented people who never lived up to their potential because they relied too much on what they were born with and too little on the grind. Consistency is about showing up when it's boring, when it's hard, when it feels like nothing is happening. Most people quit in those moments, but the ones who stick it out, the ones who keep executing day in and day out, they build something unstoppable. Think about the gym. You don't get strong by going once in a while when you feel like it. You get strong by showing up even when you're tired, even when you're sore, even when the results aren't showing yet. Over time, the results compound, and suddenly people look at you like you're gifted when really you were just consistent. Talent might shine in moments, but consistency builds legacies. Execution requires that you stop depending on feeling and start depending on discipline. You can't wait until you feel motivated because motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. Consistency is doing the work whether you feel like it or not. And that's where most people fall short. They start strong when it's exciting, but as soon as the excitement wears off, they stop executing. That's why consistency separates winners from everyone else. The winner doesn't stop when the excitement dies. They keep grinding because they know consistency is what turns effort into excellence. You have to decide that no matter what, you will keep showing up. It doesn't matter if progress feels slow. It doesn't matter if you're not seeing immediate results. Consistency is not about speed. It's about stability. A steady drip of water can carve through stone, not because it's powerful in one moment, but because it's relentless over time. That's what execution looks like when paired with consistency. Every small action repeated day after day creates results that talent alone could never deliver. And consistency is not glamorous. It's not the highlight reel you see on social media. It's the unseen hours, the quiet grind, the sacrifices no one celebrates. It's the late nights, the early mornings, the repetition that feels endless, but all that invisible work becomes visible later when success shows up. People will call you lucky. They'll say you were blessed with talent, but they'll never see the countless hours of consistency behind the scene. That's why you can't crave recognition, because consistency doesn't give you applause today. It gives you victory tomorrow. Consistency is also the answer to failure. When you're consistent, failure doesn't end you. It just becomes part of the process. You fall, but you get back up the next day and keep moving. You make mistakes, but you keep executing until you learn. Consistency makes you resilient because it teaches you that one setback doesn't define you. Quitting defines you. As long as you're consistent, you can't lose because every day you're gaining strength, gaining wisdom, gaining momentum. Some people waste years waiting for motivation to show up, while consistent people pass them by because they kept moving regardless of feelings. That's the difference. The person who executes consistently may not be the smartest, may not be the most talented, but they are dependable. And life rewards dependability. Employers notice it. Opportunities gravitate to it. People trust it. You become valuable when you are consistent because people can count on you. Talent might impress, but consistency earns respect. Think about the greats in any field. Athletes, entrepreneurs, artists. They didn't just rely on talent. They trained, they studied, they executed consistently. That's why they're remembered. Nobody remembers the person who was talented but lazy. They remember the one who showed up every single time, who delivered, who outworked everyone else. And the truth is, consistency is available to anyone. You don't need to be born with it. You don't need someone to hand it to you. You just need to decide that you won't quit. Consistency is a choice. It's waking up and saying, I will execute today, no matter what. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. Even if you stumble, even if you mess up, consistency means you get back on track. That's how you build habits, and habits create transformation. The small things you do consistently shape the big outcomes of your life. Your health, your relationships, your career, your success. It all comes down to what you do daily, not occasionally. At the end of the day, people don't measure you by what you intended to do. They measure you by what you actually did. You can talk all you want about your plans, your dreams, your goals, but none of it means anything without results. Results are the only evidence that you truly believed in yourself enough to execute. Words fade, promises fade, even passion fades, but results remain. They stand as proof of your effort, your discipline, and your commitment. The world respects results because results are undeniable. You can't argue with execution that produce something tangible. You can't debate results that stand in front of everyone to see. That's why results are louder than excuses, louder than intentions, louder than all the noise. People will forget what you said, they will forget what you promised, but they will never forget what you delivered. Results are your receipts, the evidence that you put in the work. When someone asks you what you've been doing with your life, your results should answer for you. You don't need to defend yourself with long explanations. You don't need to convince anybody with speeches. Your results will speak louder than any argument you could ever make. And if you don't have results, then it doesn't matter how good your intentions were, because intentions don't pay bills. Intentions don't build legacies. Intentions don't inspire the next generation. Execution does. Results reveal the truth. You can't hide behind excuses when results are required. You can say you worked hard, but the results will tell if you truly did. You can say you gave everything, but the results will expose whether you left something on the table. You can say you wanted it badly, but the results will show whether you were willing to sacrifice for it. Results don't lie. They don't bend to your intentions. They only reflect your execution. That's why results are powerful. They are the honest reflection of what you put in. If you gave your all, your results will show it. If you were inconsistent, distracted, or lazy, your results will show that too. This is why you can't be obsessed with what people think or what people say. You have to be obsessed with results. Because people's opinions change, but results remain. People might doubt you, they might laugh at you, they might criticize you. But if you stay focused on execution, eventually your results will silence them. It's hard to argue with someone who is producing. It's hard to dismiss someone whose results are undeniable. That's why you can't waste energy trying to prove people wrong with words. Prove them wrong with results. Let your success become the loudest response. And results aren't just about impressing others. They're about proving to yourself that you can. Every time you produce results, you build confidence. You give yourself evidence that you're capable, that your efforts are worth it, that your sacrifices mean something. Results feed belief. When you see progress, when you see growth, when you see yourself reaching milestones, you begin to trust yourself more, and that trust fuels even more execution. It's a cycle. Execution produces results. Results build confidence, and confidence fuels more execution. That's how people go from average to unstoppable. But you have to be willing to stay the course long enough to see those results. Most people quit too soon. They work for a little while, don't see instant results, and then convince themselves it's not working. But results take time. They don't show up overnight. They are the reward for consistent execution over time. That's why you can't just dabble. You can't just put in effort when it's convenient. You've got to commit and stay disciplined even when results aren't visible yet. Because the truth is, results are building in the dark long before they shine in the light. When results finally show up, they will speak volumes. They will validate the grind. They will justify the sacrifices. They will confirm that your pain wasn't wasted. That's why you can't stop in the middle. You can't give up just because you don't see results immediately. You have to trust that if you keep executing, the evidence will come. And when it does, it will be worth every sleepless night, every setback, every ounce of effort you gave. Remember, no one ever built a legacy off of intention. Legacies are built on results. The books you write, the businesses you build, the lives you touch, the examples you set, those are results. They are the things that last after you're gone. No one will talk about how great your intentions were. They'll talk about what you accomplished, what you executed, what you left behind. That's why you can't afford to settle for good intention. You need evidence, you need results.